I'm Victoria. 3 minutes into my wedding ceremony, my so-called mother, Mrs. Thompson, stood up from the second row. She walked briskly to the officiant and snatched the microphone out of his hand. The 250 guests in the beautiful garden of the country club fell silent as she turned towards me in my wedding dress. With a feigned gentleness, she said, "She is not who you think she is." She thought this would shatter me, but little did she know that 5 months ago, I had discovered a diary in an old oak chest she kept locked in the attic of our family home in the small town of Millfield. The woman who wrote it had recorded my true identity. And my husband, Jack, had a black briefcase in his suit jacket, filled with documents prepared over 8 quiet weeks with a probate lawyer. Let me rewind a bit. I grew up in Millfield, a quaint town with tree-lined streets and friendly neighbors. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, seemed like the perfect couple. My father, Mr. Thompson, was a quiet and reserved man, often lost in his thoughts. He worked as an accountant at a local firm. My mother, on the other hand, was the life of the town. She was the president of the local community center for 10 years, always organizing events and helping others. But there were always these little oddities. I was never shown baby pictures of myself older than 8 months. She said they were destroyed in a fire when I was 4. Whenever neighbors asked about my aunt, Amelia, my mother's twin sister, her smile would freeze for a split second and then continue as if nothing had happened. When I was 13, I found a single photo in a box in the basement. A woman who looked exactly like my mother was holding a newborn wrapped in a blue blanket. The woman in the photo was beaming with joy. I took it to my mother, and she took it from me as if it was made of glass. "That's your Aunt Amelia, dear. She passed away when you were very young. Please put it back," she said. I did as I was told and never asked again. I left Millfield at 19 to attend Stanford University on a full scholarship. I packed my bags and my mother drove me to the bus station. She hugged me tightly and said, "Call me every week, Victoria. Promise me." I promised, but as the weeks went by, the calls became less frequent. By my sophomore year, it was just a text on holidays. I did well at Stanford, majoring in law. After graduation, I joined a well-known law firm in San Francisco. I was good at my job, especially in trust litigation. One of the first cases I worked on was a family dispute where a brother and sister were fighting over their mother's estate. The sister had embezzled a large sum of money from the trust. It made me realize how complicated family relationships could be. I met Jack at a law conference. He was a software engineer, 30 years old, and had a kind and gentle nature. We started dating slowly, having dinners on Wednesdays and long walks in the park. 3 months into our relationship, he said something that touched my heart. "Victoria, you don't have to pretend to be someone else around me. I see the real you." I cried, something I hadn't done in front of anyone since college. We got engaged on a sunny day in June at the Golden Gate Bridge. Jack proposed with a ring that had been in his family for generations. I said yes without hesitation. We decided to have the wedding in Millfield, where my family lived. When we told my parents the news, my mother's reaction was strange. She seemed happy on the surface, but I could see a hint of nervousness in her eyes. She immediately took over the wedding planning. I wanted a small wedding with 150 guests, but she insisted on 250. "You have so many friends and relatives in Millfield, we can't leave anyone out," she said. She also had very specific ideas about the venue, the flowers, and the bridesmaids. She wanted my cousin, Lily, as the maid of honor, but I had Jack's sister, Emily, in mind. In the end, I gave in to most of her demands. During the bridesmaid dress shopping, Lily made a comment that made me suspicious. "You know, Victoria, you look more like Aunt Amelia in these old pictures than Mom." The store went quiet for a moment. My mother quickly intervened, "Lily, stop being silly." But the seed of doubt had been planted. A week before my bachelorette party, my colleague, Lisa, gave me a DNA testing kit. Just for fun, she said. I laughed it off at first, but Jack encouraged me to do it. A few weeks later, the results came back. The top match was Mrs. Thompson, but the predicted relationship was first cousin once removed. I was shocked. I called the customer support and they confirmed that the DNA shared was not consistent with a mother-daughter relationship. Jack and I decided to go back to Millfield to investigate. We told my mother we needed to find some old books in the attic. She reluctantly gave us the key. In the attic, we found the oak chest. I used bolt cutters I had brought with me to open the padlock. Inside, there was a stack of letters, a photo album, and a diary. The diary was written by Amelia. It revealed that she was my biological mother. She had been pregnant with me when her husband, my father, died in a car accident. She moved in with my mother, Mrs. Thompson, for support. After I was born, Amelia died of postpartum complications. My mother then took me in and claimed me as her own. She also took Amelia's house and the trust that Amelia's father had set up for her children. Jack and I sat down and discussed our options. We decided to expose the truth at the wedding. We hired a forensic genealogist and a probate lawyer to prepare the necessary documents. Back at the wedding, after my mother made her dramatic announcement, I looked at Jack. He calmly walked to the small table next to the officiant and placed the wedding rings back in the box. Then he took out the black briefcase from his jacket. He opened the briefcase and took out a certified copy of Amelia's death certificate. "This is the death certificate of Amelia Thompson, Victoria's biological mother," he said. I took the microphone from him and said, "Amelia was my mother. She was Mrs. Thompson's twin sister. After she died, Mrs. Thompson took me in and took everything that belonged to Amelia, including her name and her trust. My mother tried to defend herself. I raised you for all these years. Doesn't that count for something?" But it was too late. The truth was out. About 2/3 of the guests stayed for the reception, while the rest, mostly my mother's friends from the community center, left. After the wedding, we filed a civil lawsuit. 6 months later, my mother settled. She returned $1.5 million, which was the full value of Amelia's trust, plus double damages for probate fraud. She also signed the house back to me. My father called me a few months later and apologized. He said he had always wanted to tell me the truth but was too afraid. Lily moved away from Millfield, and I haven't spoken to her since. My mother lost her position at the community center and now lives in a small apartment. In my study, there is a small oak chest on the shelf. Inside, there is Amelia's diary, which I read from time to time. It reminds me of my true identity and the journey I've been through. The thing about a stolen identity is that once you take it back, you can start living your life on your own terms.